Yes, we are still here for your assistance to be able to help this connection today. And we are very interested in learning alongside with you about this man and the importance and significance he has actually empowered humanity with.
Great. Well, we would like to speak with Rudolf Steiner today and learn more about his work.
Yes, yes. Hello, hello, hello. I am here. I am here. And I know you have summoned me. I am here, and I am more than happy to have this conversation with you today.
Greetings, Mr. Steiner. Are you currently living in Austria?
Yes, I am. I am. I sense that I am, I'm here right now in Austria. I sense that I am 28.
Oh, okay. So we're in the late 1800s.
And I'm trying to work. Our society has become so heightened. There is a sense that there is going to be much war. We just feel so afraid that there is going to be so much hostility and so much battle. There's so much that is not being told. This feels like a big urgency to be able to tell the truth to people because people are reacting to propaganda.
Yes, we're familiar with that in the time I'm in. I'm curious as to what you are working on right now and how is this impacting your work with this propaganda and fear?
It is, the work I'm working on now is to still have scientific evidence that there is spirituality within us all and we are able to connect in. And so it is frustrating to see how many people are still seeking information from outside sources to be able to navigate how they behave, how they react, and how they feel. So it is about trying to empower every individual person to go within. And this is the easiest way I see for people to be able to live a more balanced and inner peace life. And it is interesting to say the least, how people have been disconnected from their eyes, their ears, their hearts, and their minds as they are blindly being led. It is it is frustrating at the same time because people have already got so disempowered. And so my model for education was to nurture the child from the beginning, teaching the child to profoundly love themselves and be connected to all of the senses, including your intuition is the most powerful gift you can give a child because it's a gift they will have for a lifetime. And so it is about not allowing to have children be dispowered, disengaged from their spirituality, and to be able to, and not distract them with anything else, and to not surround them with adults who are living in their own fear. And so it's about trying to help. And I understand that it takes a generation to be able to empower themselves enough to get to this point where they are not in fear and living under propaganda. And so it's a labor of love knowing that the people who are already so empowered, so affected with the disease of fear, it is hard for them to be able to work back themselves, to empower themselves with all of the disempowerment that has been surrounding them and marinated in them. So it is about providing profound education for the next generations, and to be able to also support the adults who have already been corrupted.
Yes, well, you gifted humanity with a true holistic approach um, to educating our children, as well as agriculture and many more subjects.
It was just about using common sense, and it was about not being manipulated by any other industry, and to be able to empower each individual person to be able to have a deep relationship with your food, to grow your food, and to know what to do with your food, and be really aware of the seasons and your environment. It is everything. Spirituality is not just about a mantra or a meditation or a quick haiku. It is about a way of life, a profound way of life. And from my perspective, you can't be living in two camps. You can't be abiding the spirituality laws and still being able to apply that to a 3D, as you would say, lifestyle, because it is conflicting. The fundamental ethics of both lives are completely opposite from each other. And so there must be a balance there. And it is, unfortunately, from my perspective, the future just gets more and more and more disengaged from spirituality as a true wholesome lifestyle. This is no judgment at all, but my hope was to be able to provide profound, profound evidence of my information. I know a lot of people were doubting spirituality in other realms. And I understand that people needed hardcore proof and evidence. And this is why I wanted to base my metaphysical beliefs and be able to have backup with scientific evidence. And as you know, with science, you must be able to perform an experiment and be able to repeat it. And so when it's an individual journey, it is quite challenging to say to someone, this is how I have my path of enlightenment, follow my steps, when each individual journey is not copy pasted from one person to another. So it is a challenge to be able to show science for my belief systems and proof of my spirituality, and then be able to give it to someone else, the model of for someone else. It can be very similar, but we have to be on our own individual path, our own individual journey to be able to have our own individual enlightenment. Remember, our life contracts are not exactly the same. And it is all destination to empowerment and enlightenment, but what works for one person may not work for the other. And so to be able to get it into being scientifically provable can be limiting because it is individually based results truly. So my theories were possible to prove, but it was about having a belief system of faith to start off with, to be able to see the science being proven.
Did you come in with your veil removed, or who influenced your thinking?
Mm-hmm. I was very protected. I had a lot of imaginary friends, shall I say. And so I had a lot of support systems. My veil was when I was younger. I did have these imaginary friends that conversed with me, but it wasn't until I started my own, I guess I could say, meditation in a way that I started noticing. Because I did have such an analytical mind, I was starting to notice things that were more in the metaphysical realm. And because I knew I wasn't losing my mind, because I had always had other support from different guides, it was more normal than not. And so I didn't doubt myself. I had profound love for myself because I knew I was smart, I was kind, and I was compassionate to all. And so I did have a strong belief system in myself. So I was able to grow and expand on that. And I was so curious about knowing my imaginary friends were not imaginary at all because they were very real to me. And it was giving me the tools to step forward and empower myself as into an adult. So I was just blessed to be so connected. I did not shun away the information that they were giving me. I was wanting to prove it. And ultimately, I wanted to prove to the world that my, in quotation marks, imaginary friends were beings from different dimensions who were beyond wise and who supported me and nurtured me in my own growth. So it was purposeful. It was very purposeful to have that experience. But it was hard. It was a hard path to be able to translate the information that they were giving me through my senses, not through my ears, not really through my eyes, but through my intuition. And to translate that information into words to be able to then prove it to others was my own mission to be able to do.
That's a very challenging mission, to communicate such cosmic connection to people who are so programmed to be disconnected.
Yes, it was. I knew that once people could have those stepping stones of profound love of self, they would be able to also open up their connections to their spiritual teams, their guides, their guardians. And so it was knowing that it was all provable once people started implementing their own inner work and stepping stones to be able to get there. It was because it's a lifestyle. It is not just a trendy phase to connect to your spiritual team. You have to have a complete balance in your life and to be able to be responsible for all your actions and not accidentally, mindlessly follow routine that no longer serves you or has never served you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about questioning everything and being able to make sure with true intent all of your actions and all of your reactions are the appropriate ones for you. There is much to talk about with that, but it was, my work is a journey of my own evolution, and it was about trying to make everything that I believed provable for others. And so it was challenging to find the biggest critics and to be able to tell them that some of their belief systems were so unfair and so limited, and so blocking themselves from the bigger divine messages and information. And of course, there was a lot of people with curiosity, but also strong beliefs in religion. And so they were indoctrinated to believe that they truly were not good enough to even connect and to have a personal relationship with God, even though it is literally what they are saying often.
Hmm.
Yes, I am back here now.
Okay. Could you talk more about the spirit, soul, body, trifold being that you wrote about in your work?
It was what I sort of had tapped into before, mentioning that your eyes are to give you, so your body has these senses that you can hear and see, and the soul of your consciousness is able to experience, and it's about encompassing all of your senses. It is not just sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. It is about intuition. It is about the other, all of the other senses. The inner knowing, the third eye, it's everything. That is your full, complete body, and you have, for majority, have been disconnected from that. And so what ideally the ultimate human being would be able to have that all in balance and moving forward and reacting and living in that complete balance. Actually now, most people just have their just one sense, which is truly their thinking. They're disconnected from what they're seeing, they're disconnected from what they're hearing, they're disconnected from what they're sensing, and their thinking capacity is the one that leads everything. But that is your consciousness, that is mostly your ego, and your reactions are all coming from that. And when there is a profound disproportionate balance, when you're not able to harness all of your senses, when you don't even know how to activate any of them because you have been so disempowered. We want to say that there is a switchboard of all these senses, and as humanity has continued on this path, all of the senses have been switched off and are not being taught how to connect and how to be turned back on. And so a lot of people who have been activated have had some of their switches turned on. Your veil has been released. Your intuition has been switched on. There's so many of these switches of these senses that are coming back because of the person's thought processes of wanting to ask questions and thinking about more than just reacting to life. And so they are seeking out and searching their connections. They're wanting connections and relationships with their guides. So those switches are starting to be turned on. When you're being activated for your ascensions, you are having profound body activations. And so you're starting to notice energy within you, which could be then deferred into ascension symptom or a physical issue in your body, which is not always the case. It is just upgrading. So it is about seeing you are more than just this physical. It is about believing you're more than just this physical. And it's about mastering all of the versions of yourself and all the aspects of yourself.
Yes, that was quite an expansive perspective to hold during your time, or any time.
It is hard for one person to perceive that you are more than just what you sense and feel. But when you think I can sense everything, I can feel this cup, I can hear you speaking, I can see you talking. That's it. I know everything. And unfortunately, ego has assumed that when you think you know everything, you stop yourself from growing. And it is about actually being open to the possibilities that you are a multidimensional being here in this bodysuit to experience this life. And it is so convoluted, and it is not common day conversations. And the conversations that people are normally having is the gossip of the smaller situations of people and smaller dramas that are happening. And the conversations have always been steered away from empowerment and a growth. And if anyone simply just looked at my education model, they would understand how easily it is to control and manipulate and disempower people through distracting them from profoundly loving themselves and being connected from the get-go. It is like training a baby to drive a very fast car when that baby can't even crawl. So it is missing so much of the empowerment of that child to develop and learn how to crawl, to then start toddling, to then start running. And so there is so many milestones and stepping stones for a child's development. And when you miss some things and add in others, you're warping their own foundations of empowerment and perspective of life. And so when you are missing those vital foundation stones and you keep building on top of this already unstable foundation, you're just adding more and more. And when you do not have that thick layer of profound love and connection and empowerment from the bottom, from the foundations, anything that you build above that is always going to be slightly unstable. So it is about empowering the child profoundly first before adding any other learning, any other perspective of anything. And so it is so purposeful, so unique. I still strongly stand by my educational system because it is the one that best serves the individual. It is not a competition about who's the most cleverest or the most intelligent. It is about the competition, if you must call it that, about the person who is the most empowered of self, the most loving, the most grounded, the most spiritually connected beings. Remembering right now, as I see it in your time, most of the children that are coming in are such advanced, profound beings. They already know these stepping stones more. And already have this within them intuitively. And so there is my teachings to help the people who are already alive, and was a great opportunity for humanity to change their approach to education. However, there was a bigger agenda to change the education away from self-connection into disempowerment. And so it was purposeful, my time, to come onto the planet to be able to give people this other option. It made so much sense. And the education, the people who are passionate about education will look at all of the different schools of thought, and you don't have to be spiritual or religious to see that empowering someone so profoundly at the base, at the very base, of their educational system is obviously the most appropriate. But there is so much that has gone wrong with the education system. I know you wanted to talk about more of the things, but it is about the thing of how do you help humanity? And you help humanity from the start of their lives and nurture them and encourage them and support them. And every system that has touched those children is one way or another to disempower them. It is a very, very sad situation. You're stuck in so many corrupt systems, as you know. But this is me projecting my thoughts onto your time. And this is very similar to some extent of what I was experiencing. It is hard to have such passion and drive and such belief in systems to empower humanity, and you're feeling like you are up against a big corrupt wall with other agendas.
Well, I've always held your Waldorf school to be, one of the ideals of early childhood education, and I'm so grateful to have been introduced and to learn about it. And I love how the system reflects the true human values that lift us all up and enhance life as a human.
Mm.
So I greatly appreciate that, and wish, you know, children could have been taken advantage of your system.
Mm.
Um, I would like to change tracks here a little and ask what you do for fun. How do you enjoy yourself in your life?
Okay. I just wanted to add one thing. The current model for education is assuming that the parents can give fundamental empowerment to their children in a loving way, but the parents are so disengaged and still struggling with their own insecurities and a lack of empowerment themselves, that it's not possible for the parents to profoundly provide that for the children. So there is a gap there. And it is, it's a big one. It is a big, it's such a important reflection back on cultures that have live in tribal bases and tribes and communities, because everyone can support each other, and that's when you really feel more profoundly empowered, when everyone can support each other, and when you break down the family's construct down to just the responsibility of a parent or two parents raising their children, it becomes unbalanced, because the roles are too great to truly be able uh, to raise a child. Takes a tribe. And this is not my original words, but I want to remind everyone of that sentiment, that it is very challenging to be able to do that. And this is, if we want to say the disempowerment of the systems, is to disempower the parents and to make the parents feel like they are failing. It is the whole systems, tapping into what is in your current lives now, to see that it's still the cycles. And I'm glad that my work still has the opportunity to live throughout even your lifetimes, because it makes common sense when you stop and look at it. But again, it is that balance between living in the spiritual enlightened life path versus living in your controlled systems. You cannot be in both. And the systems that are controlled, that you kind of accept and just live through, you're having to divorce them, and not that many people want to divorce them, because it gets challenging. You asked me another question, and I would like to reply back to it. Your question was my passion and joy and what I do. I get a sense that I do like the freedom of being on a bicycle, and to be able to just speed by nature, and to be able to just have the fresh air, knowing that I am in control, and empowering this bicycle to move me, and knowing that it takes all of my responsibility and actions to be able to work this machine, this bicycle, to be able to do what I need it to do. It's an extension of myself, and it gives me joy to be able to go fast. It gives me joy to go slow and to balance everything. And it keeps me very mindful of my actions and responsibilities to balance everything. It is such a beautiful metaphor for life, having to be on a machine, a bike, and to use my whole body and mind to extend out, to be a part of the bike system, to be able to control it, to protect myself from any fumbles, to be able to feel the adrenaline of the rush of the wind, and to be able to go faster and further than I could on my feet. And so it is my time out to be able to just ride my bike.
Mm. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you for sharing that. Are you married at the time, or at this time?
Yes, I am married, and we have very similar ideals. I get the sense that this is my first marriage. I'm getting the sense that I have another marriage to come.
Well, from reading about your life, it does seem that you have attracted partners that reflect you in a way, in a healthy way, and provide a beautiful balance, which is lovely. Congratulations.
Well, it is. I was seen as sort of an eccentric thinker, and I was very passionate. I expressed my thoughts and feelings out loud. I was not shy with my feelings and thoughts and considerations. And I did ask many people so many questions that they had to stop and think for themselves. And this was all purposeful for me to help inspire and encourage and to make people stop and think, and to be able to realize that my thoughts were not confrontational. My questions and thought processes and the way that I would like to approach life was not, while it was contrary to the common approaches, I did not come across with aggression or ego or agitation to the systems that I did not see were helping. And so I approached it very calmly and diligently, and I had a lot of thought. So my connections to others did not trigger them emotionally. It just simply was me constantly asking questions out loud for people to ponder and consider.
Well, I particularly appreciate your writings regarding our cosmic connections, and the discussion of astrology, and really how more ancient people just really knew this information. And then, of course, we decided somewhere along the line that reality was more mechanical, and so we lost that connection somewhere. And so, was it more of your mission to come and teach humanity that we are indeed material and spiritual, and not one and the other, is what I'm understanding. Can you talk a little more about that?
Yes. While the life contracts of each individual person was to come here and to experience this, ultimately humanity is in a totality, in a total. When you look at all the sum of people who are not spiritual, humanity is becoming more and more and more dumbed down and more disconnected than ever before. And so it is grinding down. Yeah, in some respects, humanity is devolving into more. As you're not using your minds, you're not stopping and questioning. You're going with the controlled systems. You are putting yourself into a deeper, smaller hole of growth and evolution. And so, coming down for my life was to be able to give people tools to be able to see things from a different perspective, to be able to help humanity see that there was an alternative from the main agendas that were being pushed with popularity into society. And so when I was writing my life contract, we were all concerned about how we could see rather than the expansion of the conscious collective, it was being minimized and shrinking down, and there was not much expansion. And it seems like we were needing quite a few beings to come down and give other lessons, other perspectives, other approaches that were not the main, that were not the ones that are being forced and controlled. We were trying to get a jump on the manipulation, because once that train took off and got momentum of being controlling and to manipulate you away from yourselves to be more disempowered than ever before, you keep driving into this disempowered land, shall we say. And we wanted the destination for humanity to be more profoundly empowered, to be able to be profoundly connected to self and to source. And so we needed to be able to put some spokes in those wheels to be able to make people stop and think. And so that was part of my mission, was to be able to give an alternative, a very common sense alternative, which is not controversial. It makes so much sense when you stop and think and read my work. It speaks for itself. It still does. But many are still on that train, going into more and more disempowerment. And it is harder to say, I want to get off now and start my own track and walk to the beat of my own drum, shall I say. And so it is about getting people pulled off that train, because the train has huge momentum now. The train is disempowering people as it is accelerating, and more people are jumping off that train, realizing this train is going in a direction that is not serving humanity and is not serving anyone individually, apart from the people who are trying to control and manipulate humanity. And this really does not serve many at all. But it is a learning. We're making this train so ridiculously ridiculous. The destination is so ridiculous that most people are waking up, realizing, oops, this is the wrong train. I do not want to be on this train anymore. This destination does not serve me, does not inspire me, does not encourage me, and actually is quite harmful for me if I continue on this path of not thinking for myself. And so many people are jumping off this train, and this is good. But as you know, it's taken a long time for people to be able to waken up and notice they are on the wrong train.
Yes, it certainly has taken a long time. I'm curious as to what kinds of challenges you did encounter. Did you have any difficulty in maintaining your motivation to keep going?
I was highly driven. My passion to awaken humanity, to show how easy it is to get back onto a really good path of self-empowerment and enlightenment. So I knew that my work was bigger than myself and the people that I knew. So I was so diligent, and I was such a hard worker. I barely had a day off. I was consumed with being able to help people make these stepping stones back to themselves. And it was beautiful to see people who were struggling and so fearful and so confused to be able to find inner strength again. And it was such a rush and excitement to see people really getting it, and to be able to empower others while I was still growing myself. I believed in my work 100,000,000%, and I could never stop it. And so, yes, of course, there were many critics, and there was many haters, and there was many people frustrated because they could not see it themselves. Ultimately, the people who could not see it themselves did not have that profound faith of self, love of self, to be able to get to see my perspective. They were still struggling with a lot of their own issues, and still wanting to still live and be in that train that was taking them off path. So yes, of course, I had many supporters that were very dear to me, and I also had many critics and many people who were in their ego who were seeing that I was competition to them, and wanted to rebuttal my beliefs. And this is why I really wanted to map out the science between spirituality and metaphysical work and theories and thought, to be able to make it all provable. And of course, you can see how challenging that would be when someone is so stubborn they do not want to even love themselves, to be able to then be able to see my side of my perspective of helping humanity and themselves. So of course it was many challenges, but I did not be afraid of the challenges. I wanted to help, and I saw every person who struggled, who were in my life. I saw it as a new challenge for me to help guide them. I never judged them. I simply tried to give them the missing pieces that they needed to be able to understand their own path. Of course, you can't force anyone to do their own inner work and to have a spiritually open-minded connection. So it is, I did the best I could do, and I am doing the best I can do to be able to help each individual person that I can.
Oh, that's very inspirational. I appreciate everything you have given to humanity so very much. Yeah, I don't even really have words to say in response to that, other than my gratitude.
Thank you. My gratitude back to you for asking me these questions, and I do appreciate knowing that my work is still valid and still heard. My biggest concern, I would be censored. My work would be censored, and it is of great relief to me to know that it is still out there, that people can still get and know about me. This is very, very encouraging and inspiring to know that the truth will always be there when people are trying to find it and seek it. And I just wanted to say that there is no judgment for the people who are happy on the train that is disempowering them the most. Because I understand it looks comfortable, it seems comfortable, and when people don't want conflict and when people don't want to do any hard work, being driven on a train to any destination is easier than walking. And so I understand. I understand and can understand and have always understood why people do not want to do any of their own inner work. I understand that it is hard to stop and think for yourself and to start questioning because of all the emotions that flood through when you realize that you have been taken and misled. It is a very vulnerable place to accept. The overcoming and the empowerment, the self-empowerment and the profound self of love is always going to be the best reward for anyone doing their own inner work and their spiritual connections. And this is a reward that is more valuable than anything that you would ever know. And this is of great motivation to anyone that's still thinking, should they get off the train, that is disempowering them at every step, and to be able to start truly loving themselves. And I want to say to everyone who is listening, you are so worthy of self-love. There is nothing that is you've ever done that doesn't justify you to have profound self-love, because I know the universe profoundly loves you and profoundly accepts you, and you're the only one holding yourself back, and you do not need to be chauffeured any further into disempowerment. This is your time to stop and hop off the train.
Oh, thank you for that. That was just beautiful. I would love to speak to you for hours because you are just a fountain of such a wealth of information. But what I particularly love about your work, how it is infused with this belief of the grandeur or how just the marvelousness of humanity and what it could be.
When you have self-love and you empower yourself and you don't have doubt, you don't have worry or fear, because you know you're fully in control of yourself, and you would never suddenly disempower yourself or lose hope or faith. And so once you are fully empowered that way, there is nothing that can really knock you over. And the more you love yourself, the more you give out to all, because you're just so balanced and grounded. And when you love yourself, you can feel the love of others. And my biggest inspiration was feeling the love of the divine, and that always empowered me. And sometimes when I did feel a stumble or a criticism that was just a little frustrating to cope with, I remembered that I was loved. And was I always perfect? No. But did I always try the best I could for myself and for humanity? Yes, I had good intention and integrity, and that made me be able to love myself even more, because my decisions were always of honor. I did not buy into my own ego, because I just knew that the information I needed to share was more important than boosting up an ego that was not actually needed. I did not actually pay much attention to my ego as such. I was completely happy and accepted everyone. And so I did not feel frustrated if people were not buying into my work or following my work, because I knew that was their purpose and path. And that's what was needed for them. And I also knew, because I had seen it many times, when you are not doing what you're supposed to, the universe does push things into your path, to make you stop and think and ponder. And I did have one or two times where I did not see a rock and fell off my bike. And I sat there with a grazed knee thinking, why? And it was because I was so frustrated with someone who was belittling my work and challenging me, that I started thinking about that more than being focused on what I was doing with my bike journey. And so I did have to laugh, realizing that people's reflections on me and my work actually is none of my business. And I do not need to feel personally responsible for people's limitations and frustrations. I can care for them and love them, but I do not need to feel responsible for their spiritual journey and growth. And when they were having tantrums and putting it on me, I was not to dwell on that, because that would only distract me and bring me down and make me frustrated. Because while I wanted to be able to help everyone with their own puzzle pieces to be able to get to their own spiritual growth, I didn't actually know every single aspect of each individual person. So I really wasn't able to be able to go, that time that you were rejected by that girl made you feel so disempowered that you've switched off your emotional heart and you can't love yourself or anyone else since then. So it's about trying to accept that everyone is going to be responsible for their own journey. And if they couldn't work it out this lifetime, then I knew that they would have many other options. But everything that they're experiencing, even with a closed heart, is still valuable in lessons and still expands their soul's experiences here on earth. So I can't say that that was bad. And I can't judge anything. I know that all experiences are valuable, regardless of it's the journey with the train that is profoundly disempowering you, or if it's the journey of self-love and discovery.
Mm. I love that. I love that so much. Am I still speaking to your 28-year-old?
No, I have advanced in my aspects and perspective of it. My subconscious has come in a few times as well. This is the subconscious speaking now. So
okay.
it is a mix. You're getting many different versions of him reflecting on himself and his life journey. So it is partly him as that person, and it's also partly the subconscious. but it's also partly him reflecting on his life when he was reviewing his life purpose and contract.
Mm.
So there is
Mm.
of him that are here with you today.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. As a curiosity, since, well, the timing may not be just right, but I was curious if Rudolph had any awareness of Alice Bailey.
Yes, seems like they were contracted with very similar missions to be able to be in different parts and locations and to be able to reach different audiences. Very similar with their roles and their duties to be able to bring spirituality and the metaphysical world to the awareness of others. His approach was very different. His demeanor is very different. His personality is very different. And actually, if they had met, she would have liked him because he did not have ego and he did not trigger her vulnerability of feeling frustrated that she was merely a woman. He would have appreciated and loved her. And we see that there was some books that crossed each other's paths that were very similar, but they did have soul connections because they were purposely planted and placed into the planet before things really went haywire. So they were part of sowing seeds of profound wisdom and information to be able to get this spirituality away from the religion and to give it authenticity through their own experiences.
Well, yes, thank you again. The work has been immeasurable, just so profound, and has so greatly impacted so many who are on the planet at this time. So I've just greatly enjoyed speaking with you today, and I know there's so much more that could be said. And do you have any closing comments for us?
Thank you. Yes. When you are passionate about something, it consumes you. And I would love for people to start being compassionate and passionate about their own selves. Be kinder to yourselves, to honor yourselves profoundly, knowing that often you did not know you were on that train of disempowerment. But now that you do know, take a time to figure out what really serves you and what doesn't. Because the more you serve yourself, the more you empower yourself, the more connected you will be to higher advanced realms. So you can be able to help support yourself more. The more love you give to thee, the more you will expand and the more you'll be able to hold higher vibrations. Many people who feel very down in the gutter don't know how to get higher vibrational, so they just feel like they want to give up and that it's too impossible. And we're saying start with self, start treating yourself, start honoring yourself, start caring for yourself, start loving yourself, being kind to yourself with words that you give and talk to yourself about. You are so special. You are so, so special. And we would love it if you could all start taking yourselves seriously and special and loving yourselves profoundly. And we know that we have said this to you many times before, but this is so important. This is so important, and this must not be skipped, and this cannot be skipped. Your spirituality path cannot evolve when you have not profoundly loved yourself, accepted yourself, forgiven everyone else, and be at this just beautiful joy. Every morning is a gift for you to celebrate yourself. And we would love to hear and see you all starting to take this service of duty of self and this responsibility of just loving you and hugging yourself and just feeling proud of yourself and proud of all of the actions and choices that you make moving forward. Not because you want notification, gratification, or to take to have other people notice how good you are. We want you to notice how good you are for your own acknowledgement. Stop seeking outside approval. We want you to start seeking inside approval. And that is the greatest gift you could ever have to give yourself, is self approval.
Mm. Yes, so beautiful. Thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure and honor.
You're very welcome.